It's live. We're live. Okay, good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public review session for April 26, 2022. There is no public testimony during the review session. We begin with the SOC calendar, continued hearing items, item number 23, 52358 BZ, 11730 Farmers Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. So this application was last heard in May of 2021. At that time, the board had asked the applicant to make some corrections, revisions to the plans, and make improvements as possible. So after a couple of adjournments, the applicant has submitted a revised set of plans. Specifically, the revisions are related to relocation of the trash enclosures that would be relocated inside a gated portion where basically that area is designated for for vehicles awaiting services. In addition to that, I think after much back and forth, the board was okay with the green area that is abutting the rear side yard and abuts a residential property to be retained as a vegetable flower garden. It's our understanding that the tenants use that for vegetable gardening, so that note was added. And the additional issue was, I think the signage was another component of it. I see the signage has been revised, but I would say the way I see the signage regulation applying to this site is that this is one entire entity, it's one entire entity that has a gas station, and then it has another entity that is operating the service bays. Now, these service bays may be used, run by, one service may be for one particular purpose, another, but basically it's one entire entity. So typically the zoning resolution, the way the zoning resolution allows is that there is one prime, when you have multiple establishments, then zoning allows each establishment be treated as a zoning lot, and then the frontage regulation applied to the in that way. But in this case, this is one entire entity. So the signage regulation should apply to the entire operation and not be broken up for the office space separately so I think best would be for us to kind of say, this is something that the DOB has to look at, approve, and we are not, this is a C13 zoning district anyway, and so all signage has to comply with C13 based on, and there should be a note that should say DOB shall review and approve the signage analysis of the zoning lot per C13 regulation. And I think all of the all the signage notation that is here should be removed, because we are not approving this, because I do not think this is in compliance, and I don't want to go back and forth on us having to review the zoning and all of that. It is really pursuant to the underlying regulation, and DOB should be doing that. That is my recommendation. The other part of the trash enclosure was because it was going to be located in the rear portion, and it may be visible from the abutting residential property. The board had asked the applicant to provide a cover so that it would not be visible, and the applicant has made those revisions to the drawings. I would though say that given the concern the board had raised about this site, I was hoping that the applicant would have made at least some of the very basic, simple, easy picking fruits to be addressed, especially like putting the bollards to make sure that the vehicles are not encroaching onto the sidewalk, and very simple things like that. So in that way, I'm somewhat disappointed in that the owner has not been very responsive. I would suggest that the applicant make these revisions to the plans and add these notes to the plans, and also do some of the very basic improvements to the site. It's kind of a way to assure the board that the applicant is listening and is conscientious and is responsive to the community. And if that is there, then we might not want to stretch out the hearing and put some of that required more investment and others to be part of a conditional grant, rather than expecting every element to be completed before the board votes. So that is something I want to throw it out and incentivize the applicants to consider, to ease their review process, and also and give us the assurance. So those are my comments. So Commissioner Otley-Brown.
I fully agree with you here, and I have no additional comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you. I agree with you, and I want to add just one thing regarding the lighting. I did look at it, and I believe it's satisfactory, so I have no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Shibata.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I agree with your statements and have no further comments.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number, may I move on, Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Item
you.
number 24, 490-72BZ, 4200 Baychester Avenue, the Bronx. This is an extension of time to get a C of O.
Yeah. So according to the latest submission, the building has been cleaned up. All stored material, including vehicles in the parking area, those have been removed and cleared from all other stored material that were there in the rear yard and the side lots. The parking spaces, though, are not striped. And it's not quite clear from the photos if the asphalt was fixed or not. I did see a tar kind of, but I think it looked much better. And I think yesterday the applicant submitted a revised set of photos with new landscaping per plan. It looks beautiful. Thank you so very much. I thank the applicant and the applicant representative to get this done. It really looks nice, and I appreciate the effort the applicant has put in. And I'm satisfied. And also the note, the board sign has been added that says no parking other than employee parking by 2 gates. And so I would be okay to close it. And but I would want to hear from the other commissioners before I make that recommendation. Thank you. Commissioner Otley-Brown.
I agree that this applicant has shown much improvement since the first hearing that we had on this. And I am convinced by their recent action that they are definitely moving forward in a positive way to respect the site and respect the surrounding neighborhood. And therefore, I have no problem with you closing this today.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree that the site is much different from what it did appear like originally when we started this hearing. Landscape is beautiful. All the mess in the parking lot is clean. The building is much improved now. I believe regarding the asphalt, I did look at the older photos that they submitted, and I do believe that they put a sealant coat at least. If not, they've done some surfacing at some places. And I have seen the pictures from the yesterday, the landscape pictures. Hopefully they're gonna maintain the site like that. And
right.
Yeah, we can move it forward now, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Shabeta,
Thank you, Chair. I agree. This was a great turnaround, and
Vice Chair.
sorry, Vice Chair. I agree. This is a great turnaround, and I am eager to close and move on with this matter.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I agree. I think we hope that the applicant would continue to maintain this beautiful landscaping that they've invested in. And I think they'd appreciate how beautiful the site looks with that landscaping. So I remain hopeful on that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. May I move
Next
on?
case? Yes, please.
Okay. So new cases, item number 25, as I stated yesterday, 43361 BZ, 1702, 1712 East 16th Street has been postponed for a lack of proper notice. Okay, so the next item is item number 26, 21406 BZ, 19625 Hillside Avenue, Queens.
Okay, so we have received proof of service of initial filing and hearing notice. A community board had scheduled a hearing, and I'm trying to understand this. Community board, which was scheduled for a May 11, 2022, was postponed. Now the minutes from the April 13, 2022 was provided, in which at that time, a vote was taken and it was approved. However, in a very recent correspondence to the board, the community board states that April 13th full board meeting was not fully attended by all the board members. And the community board wants to take a vote on this case at their next full board meeting, which is scheduled for May 11th. I assuming it's not postponed, but it will happen on May 11th, and has requested the board from making a final decision. I'm okay with that. However, I had gone on a site visit and the site looked like it was in very good condition. It has been kept in very good condition. It's a very interesting site. It is a site that almost like cut into it because it has retaining wall on its rear and its side lot. And it is at grade on Hillside Avenue, and 198th Street is a steep slope that comes down from the road. I think it's called, I forget the name of the road, but it comes down to Hillside. This is an extension of term pursuant to 11-411. For a use group 16 gasoline service station with auto repair and convenience store. It's a pre-61 grant under section 7E. The previous term expired on April 10th, 2022. Now, pursuant to ZR 11-411, the board can consider a term up to 10 years from the expiration of prior grant. Now, per the SOC application, the amendment of the previous board approval is also another action, and the DOB objection sheet also refers to an amendment. However, when I looked through the statement of facts and the drawings, it wasn't quite clear to me the nature of the amendment that was being asked. So I would like the applicant to clarify that and make that note very clear in the statement of fact. In the narrative, I think the change may be that they are trying to update the handicap access ramp. I think that's the amendment that the applicant is seeking, and maybe increase of parking spaces to 17, but it's not very clear to me. I mean, when I'm comparing the prior drawings to the present, but the applicant should clarify that, and it should be stated very clearly in the narrative. In terms of the proposed improvements, as I mentioned, the existing car wash on the concrete base will be relocated from the rear lot line to a site along 197th Street. Now that proposed location has not been identified in the plan. The applicant should indicate where that would be located. Also, I want the applicant to ensure that the water runoff from the car wash is addressed and captured within the property, and they should indicate the drain on the plan. The site is in, as I mentioned, the site is kept in very good condition. Though there are some tires stored outside the building along the southern lot line, those should be relocated inside the automotive repair section. The lumen count, since the subject site is located below grade level from the abutting residential homes, I am of the opinion that I do not believe a lumen study is needed for this site, since all of the buildings around it are located at a higher elevation. And the building that is abutting the side lot line along Hillside Avenue is located above its garage and is overlooking the site. With regards to the landscaping, as per the previously approved plan, there is some amount of planting that has been required, and that is located along the southern lot line. However, based on my site visit and the photos that's been provided, you can see there aren't any. The applicant is proposing to provide planting. That portion of the area is paved over. I think the applicant should consider providing planting for a portion of the southern lot line, not for the entirety. And the reason I'm saying that is that if you look at the southern lot line, right towards the end, towards the back of the property where the garage is just 5 feet away from the property line. And within that 5 feet, tall trees are being proposed. Tall or short, whatever, I'm not sure anything can grow there, given that all the buildings around it are much taller, and likelihood of any planting surviving there is minimal at best. So I do not want to have something on the plan that shows planting would be done, but it's not feasible. So at best, I would like them to focus on the area where planting is possible and improve that section of the area with planting, and the rest, they should improve it and keep it clean and gate it accordingly and show it in the plan what that portion would be used for. In terms of the ADA access, the applicant states that it would be providing a new handicap access. I'm happy to hear that. At the same time, the applicant should make sure that there won't be any, the ramp would be free and clear of any material, display material, or any other objects. And the drawing should indicate the width of the ramp and the width of the access way to the office area. With regards to the signage, again, I want to make it very clear that whatever signage is provided has to comply with the C1 underlying regulation, and it is for DOB. So I would recommend that from now onwards, every plan should say where the underlying regulation is C1, that the zoning complies with the C1 underlying regulation, and it's for DOB to review and approve the signage analysis. And they have to go for a CO. So they would need to, I guess, this would be part of the condition in the CO. And there is some excess signage, banners and such, so those need to be removed. Those are my comments. Commissioner Otley-Brown.
I agree with you that the statement and the entire application package was a little confusing as regards the proposed enlargement or non-enlargement of the convenience store, because I looked at the April 2021 plans, which showed an 1,102 square foot selling floor convenience store and no more auto repair. However, the most recent 2022 plans show the original 298 square foot selling floor containing the auto repair. It seems as if the 2022 plans are correct and they reflect a change of mind, but I would love to hear that from the applicant.
Yeah,
that was really my only issue with this case. I would have had a comment about the landscaping, but it seems now that they are proposing to put landscaping in on the southwestern lot line. And I would just want to know, are they going to dig up the pavement for that, or are they doing some kind of a planter situation? And that's it.
So since you mentioned the landscaping, are you okay with them? Do you want them to do the landscaping for the entire stretch or for the portion that is towards the front and not tucked in between the the building walls and the retaining wall.
I don't think that what's tucked in between the building wall and the retaining wall would live.
Okay.
It would be cast in shadows. That's what
Okay.
I think. So, you know, as long as they keep that area clean and clear, then I would be fine with not having landscaping in between that area.
Okay. So, okay. I see General Counsel Vine's hands up. Yes.
Hi, thank you. First, on the question of whether this is an amendment, Commissioner Otley Brown pointed it out that they initially had proposed to convert the existing service building to a convenience store and no longer are seeking that conversion. However, and that's reflected on their January 2022 plans. However, in their January 2022 cover letter, which states that they are the proposed conversion is no longer being sought under 5C, number of employees at the site, they still state that there is one employee 24 hours a day for the convenience store. So the applicant should verify whether there is a convenience store component of this site being proposed or existing, or whether this statement in the cover letter is incorrect, but to verify whether they are still seeking an amendment of any sort here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I share the same comments regarding the lumen spread with just one exception. If you give me a second. Yeah, this is spot here. I believe this light pool, if it's the way it's shown on this street view, I believe it's gonna be casting lumens to the second floor because it's tall enough, and I'm not sure if it does. I'm not sure what is the situation with the neighbor next door. It's very close to the window. The distance seems to be like within 10 feet, maybe even less. So if they wanna like do some like half an hour measurement just here, I would be fine with that. If they find like a lumen spread shedding to the property, they can put either a shield. I would suggest that they turn this light pool, turn it probably 90 degrees or maybe even less to make sure that the lumens shed that way, not the other way. And this is for the lumen. I agree that the site is kind of like sloping towards the street. I didn't see any catch basins here, nor I can't see any floor drains. So I would like them to like enlighten us on the drainage status, whether it was like any flooding, like not on site, of course. Any surface water gonna drop here, it's gonna be draining to the street. So if they had any issues with flooding before, I would like them to like let us know about that. In photo number 6, yes, I agree that there was like an oil tank, and this is an above grade oil tank, and there was some tires and a drum. I understand the oil tank might be a disposal oil, but that need to be moved away from the property line. For the air and vacuum, I believe they are in a very good place, so I have no comment regarding these. Thank you.
I have a question regarding the lumen. You showed me the Google Street View. I don't know how up to date that is. I was looking at the photos that have been provided. I mean, this light has a very long, I think the tree is kind of coming in the way, but it.
You mean this tree or the one in the back?
No. Yeah. So if you look at the view 1, the photos that have been submitted by the applicant, for view in that, because it was taken in the winter time, the light actually kind of is pointing downwards. That's how I'm seeing the photo. I cannot do screen share.
If the light pole is not there,
If I could assist, in one of the photos that they submitted, it's a little different than the Google Maps. You'll see that there's lights on both sides of that pole. And one of them just seems to would just be for and it's on the residential side. It looks like it's just for the wall area.
Right. I think Commissioner Shetta is referring to the only light pole that is on this site, that is along the southern lot
Yes,
line on
yes.
Hillside Avenue. I don't think he's questioning the wall mounts along the rear lot line.
No, I'm talking about view 13. It's the
Vice
last
Chair,
photo.
I got to the bottom of it. I'm looking at, what is view is this? This is, I believe it's 5 or 6. It's page 3 on the PDF. And they did exactly what I just mentioned. They actually
I
turned
see.
the light
Okay,
pole.
they have two.
uh,
Okay, so you're talking about eliminating one that is pointing sideways and just keeping the one that is.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry. Hold on. I shared my my street view one more time. Yeah, this is one of the photos. Come on.
I think it's an L-shaped lighting pole. Which has
Yes,
two
exactly. And
it has
it's
two
already
light
turned 90
feeds.
degrees. Yes.
Okay, so so let the applicant clarify that, and I think it's a very simple solution. It just requires a shielding to
Here we
ensure
go.
that.
This guy. It's not like the other one. It's not the way it's oriented. It's the way I described it. It's not shooting light back to the window. It's shooting light towards the property. So it's already done.
Okay. Okay. Are we okay with it?
Yep, I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Okay. So you don't need any lumen study.
I don't think it's needed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Shabata?
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Shabeta. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Didn't you
No
miss,
worries.
you missed Utley Brown? Oh, no, never mind,
No,
sorry.
no, Miss
Sorry,
Otley.
sorry.
So
Sorry.
the only thing I have to say is if the photos of that were submitted of 3/21/21 were in fact updated, the Google Maps is in fact an update of that, then I have no comments. If the photos of 3/21/21 they still show that that pole has lights on both sides on the residential side, and I'm
Mhm.
looking at view 13 from that date.
Mhm.
I don't think a lumen spread's necessary. I just think maybe just shielding that light or removing that light altogether, because I don't see it being of much use to the applicant.
Okay. You mean view 13 or view 5?
View 13.
Okay. Okay. All right.
If I may, I don't want to ask them for shielding. The way it's oriented and the way it's located, and I believe it's even shorter than the Google view. I believe it is good. It is okay. So even shielding is gonna be useless.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that, Commissioner Shetta. And we can get clarification on that, Commissioner Shabeta, from the applicant.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Move
you.
on.
Yes, please.
Item number 27, 2017-67 BZ, 2714 Avenue R, Brooklyn.
Just give me a second to get to open the folder. Okay, so no proof of service is required for extension of time. This is an, right? Am I looking at the right thing? Yes. So In 2018, city planning, it's not city planning, what am I saying? Sorry. BSA had granted a special permit to enlarge this existing building. The grant expired in January of 2022. The application was filed on October 2021 for extension of time to complete construction and obtain CO for up to 4 years. The applicant has stated the cause of the delay. As we all know, many of these projects that have happened during this time of COVID, they've been impacted by this. So in terms of the status of the project, as we know from the application, DOB had approved the drawings, the plans in March of 2021. Work permit was issued on June 2021. Work did start in 2021, and that included providing the front and rear yard, the basement expansion along in the rear, and extension of the concrete foundation, basement underpinning, and all of that was completed by August of 2021. And also a portion of the rear and the front where the enlargement would be were also demolished. The applicant expects by 2024 it would be able to complete the work and obtain CO. And I really did not see any issues with it. And there aren't any violations, no stop work order. So I would be okay to grant this extension of time. Commissioner Utley Brown.
I found the application to be very thorough in issuing a detailed timeline, and I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Further comments from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shibata.
I'm satisfied with this application. No further comments.
Okay, thank you. Next case, please.
Appeals calendar, new cases, item number 28, 2020-82 and 2020-83A, 51 and 53 Cortlandt Street, Staten Island. This is a GCL Section 35 waiver request.
Just trying to get the site plan. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to get the plans. So we have received the proof of service for initial filing and public hearing. The community board disapproves of the request. DEP issued comments on February 2022, and the applicant should respond to those. We do not have any comments from DOT, and none do I see from FDNY on this. So this is a vacant lot. It's an irregular shaped vacant lot that has a frontage on Cortlandt Street, and it is located on the bed of a mapped street, Kramer Place. And the Kramer Place is a mapped city street. It is improved with a two-way street from Derby Court to Jewett Avenue. But the unbuilt portion of the Kramer Place that is located west of Derby Court to Cortlandt, though it was open, it seems when I was looking at the Google Street View, that portion was open and it was traveled by public. It has no sidewalk, but I think it has always been private. It is not a city-owned street. It is a mapped street, but it's not a city-owned street. It was added to the city map in the 1960s, but city never took ownership of this property. So while it has functioned as a public way, it has always remained a private street, and city never took ownership of this portion. So the applicant is proposing a 2-story plus cellar, 1-family home on 2 zoning lots, and it would be complying with all the underlying regulations. I think for this to go through, we need DEP, DOT, and fire department sign off. According to the Staten Island Borough President's topo, the subject portion of the Kramer Place between Cortland and Derby is paved and is traveled by public. However, as I noted, it is not owned by city. So BSA takes no position in its review with regards to compliance. It is in a flood zone with regards to this building's compliancy with flood regulation and underlying zoning regulation. The project must comply with all the underlying applicable regulations to this, but we still need, before we can agree to take any next step, we do need DEP, DOT, and FDNY sign off on this. Commissioner Oakley Brown.
I have no questions.
Okay. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I believe the final word on this should be from DOT and FDNY. The applicant in the statement of facts describes the portion of Kramer as unbuilt. They say the building will be located within mapped but unbuilt. When, like you mentioned, Vice Chair, when you look at the Google Maps, you can clearly see that there is actually a vehicle traveling here, and there is a stop sign, and it's a paved link of that portion of Kramer. So I'm not sure that the final word for on this should be up to the BSA. I believe we should wait until we hear back from DOT and FDNY. Thank you.
I just want to, though I do want DOT to comment on it. If DOT does have plan to build on it, then DOT will have to acquire the site. And all this time DOT has not. So if, there's only to a certain extent, we can wait for DOT to respond to it. They have been given the opportunity to respond. And within a certain time period, if they don't, I don't think we have the ability to impose that on the applicant to wait. Miss Matthias is giving me the look. So am I saying anything wrong?
No, it's just that our resolution speaks to the sister agencies and their comments on these.
I agree. It's just that the question of how long do we wait?
I understand.
Right. And DOT has been notified. So I think we should follow up with DOT to find out
Absolutely
what their position is. If DOT believes this should be part of the city street network, then city needs to acquire it. But that needs to come from them, and we have not heard anything. And since that city has never taken ownership of it, I kind of remain, I doubt city will.
I totally agree that I'm not saying we wait forever. What I'm saying is give him a chance, especially when you see a stop sign and you see ground marks on that pavement. I'm not sure if a private entity can do that. I believe these kind of stuff are done by DOT.
I won't be surprised. It's very easy to getting a stop sign and putting it there. That I'm not an expert on that, but
let's wait and see.
Let's wait. Maybe the applicant can shed more light as to how it came into being.
That's a good idea.
Shibata.
Thank you. I agree with the comments that were made. The only thing I want to look into a little further is I didn't see any comments as to why the community board denied this, and I'd like to see what reasoning they had behind it, what happened at the community board that there was such a strong disapproval.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you want the project manager to reach out to the community board and give some kind of verbiage in writing?
Yes, I'm also asking. I want the
Minutes.
planner to do that, but I'm also want the applicant to explain what happened at the community board meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Next case.
Item number 29, 2021-10A, 3869 Victory Boulevard, Staten Island.
Okay. So we have received proof of service for initial filing and public hearing. I do not see the community board vote in my SharePoint. I do not have a fire department comment on this either. We have received comments from DEP on February 2021. The applicant should respond to that. DEC has written a letter saying that the site is not within the freshwater wetlands, tidal wetlands, or coastal erosion hazard area, and therefore not in DEC jurisdiction. This is a zoning lot that is fronting on Victory Boulevard. There is an existing 2.5-story building that the applicant is stating is to be demolished. It's a very large site. And based on the photos provided in Google Street View, it seems like this particular zoning lot had several buildings, manufacturing and combination of manufacturing residential. The manufacturing buildings, existing ones, have been torn down, and the proposal is to build a new one with on-site parking, and the residential building will also be demolished. I would like the applicant to clarify that, and the reason I'm asking for that is that when I looked at the zoning lot map, and the tax map that the applicant has provided, and the survey sheet, the tax map and the survey map does not show the site plan, does not show the zoning lot in the same manner. There seems to be inconsistency in the way the zoning lot has been shown. The survey shows a zoning lot that is 250 foot wide by 100 foot deep, zoning lot with 2 tax lots. Lot 16 consisting of the 2.5-story building, and lot 22, which has the mix of had a mix of those individual industrial buildings. Per tax map, lot 16 is the entire zoning lot, which is 250 foot wide by 100 foot wide. So I would like the applicant to clarify that, and our documents should be consistent, because otherwise it leads to confusion. So as I see it on the Google map, and as the applicant statement is saying, it seems that there's this one zoning lot which has a residential building, and all other buildings that were there were demolished, and the residential building will be demolished to clear out for this new commercial building to be built with 27 on-street parking spaces. As we know, Victory Boulevard is it's a city-owned records. It's not a map street. It's a CCO street that was issued in 1952. And it has operated as a public street. It is paved roadway, and that is the only street that provides access to this. So the applicant is requesting GCL 36 because it does not front on a mapped street. I have a question, and that is, okay. Now, with regards to, so this application kind of falls in moving on to the SECRA part of it, this application falls in a strange situation. So, and as you notice in our SharePoint, the applicant was asked to submit a SECRA application. The applicant responded stating that it doesn't have to. However, I just want to put it out there that the administrative notice regarding the environmental review for GCL 36 application was issued on February 2020, and the application was filed after that. So based on that, I believe the applicant should submit the SECRA and the requisite fee. I see our council's hand up. Council Vine.
Thank you. Yes, as the vice chair just stated, for the members of the board did issue this administrative notice in February 2020. This application was filed in January 2021 which is a full 11 months after the administrative notice was issued. Pursuant to that administrative notice, this application is subject to seeker. The board may review the application under GCL 36, but cannot grant an approval with open seeker. Should the applicant have any application-specific seeker filing questions, the applicant is free to reach out to myself and the board's seeker officer. As the vice chair did mention, as part of the submission, the applicant sought a waiver under the board's rules of the board's rule on seeker. However, as the board's rules state, specifically those rules that are subject to a waiver state the board is not entitled to waive its rule regarding seeker, which is applicable law. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Shibata.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I have nothing further to add.
Okay. All right.
Move
On
on.
to, yep, thank you.
Final item is item number 30, 2021-20A and 2021A. This is 106, 108 Windham Avenue, Staten Island. This is also a GCL 35 waiver.
Okay. We have received proof of service for initial filing and public hearing. Community board has unanimously voted to approve this project. I do not see a fire department sign off on this. DEP issued a comment letter on April 2022. And the applicant should respond to that. And I don't have anything from DOT either on the file. This is an existing lot that is located on Marine Way. It is a mapped street, unbuilt, and it fronts Windham Avenue. So there are, Marine Way is a mapped has a map width of that is 60 foot wide. It runs from Cedar Grove Avenue to Milton Avenue. The mapped portion of Marine Way extends from Milton Avenue to Windham. There are existing buildings on the mapped portion of Marine Way between Milton and Windham Avenue. And to build this, a city would need to not only condemn this property, but other lots, which I don't think is at all feasible. So all we need are the sign-offs from the city agencies, but I really don't see any issues with this project. And again, I think there should be a note on the plan that, and in our resolution, that BSA does not waive any of the underlying regulations are applicable to this site. I didn't check whether this was in a flood zone or not. If it is, then it has to comply with all the regulatory controls applicable. Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I agree with you and have no comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yeah, I want to confirm that according to the FEMA map submitted, the site is in flood zone, and I want to concur with you that we're not waiving any regulations when it comes to underlying zoning or nor the flood regulations. Regarding the DOT comment, I thought that the only DOT issue was the status of the Build It Back withdrawal. I have seen an email from Build It Back saying that the project was withdrawn, so I believe DOT is almost resolved, if not totally resolved. Other than that, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
1 second.
Jeline, do you want to comment on that? Oh, okay.
Yep. It's easy.
DOT is still going to review it. They weren't going to review it when they found that it was a Build It Back, but it's not a Build It Back anymore, and they're going to review it.
It's easier to mark it as withdrawn.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
No longer in the
they-
Build It Back program.
So it's no longer in Build It Back, so it's just going to be treated as a normal case. Okay. But I think we should try to get a feedback from DoD. I know there's a bit backup, but this one definitely should be an easy one. Okay. Commissioner Shibata. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. I have no further comments on this.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so this concludes the public review session for April 26th, 2022. Do you want to take a break or you want to keep going?
I look towards my fellow board members. Do you want to take a 10-minute break and come back for public or continue going?
I say we keep going.
Let's
Keep
keep
going.
going.
Keep going. We are strong, able, willing.
Okay, we are now at the Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for April 26, 2022. The final first case is continued hearings, item number 23, 523-58 VZ, 11730 Farmers Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. I guess we should be seeing
Glenn Catrona.
Glenn Catrona.
There he is, he's coming in. Glenn, can you accept as panelist, please?
Yes, I do.
Hi, are you the only one appearing, Glenn?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please proceed, state your name for the record and proceed.
Yes. Good morning, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and BSA staff. My name is Glenn Catrona, AIA. I am representing the owners of the Farmers Boulevard project, subject project. I would like to start by saying that I err on the side of the comments made regarding having some of these improvements in hand, but I will tell you, I've been working along with this owner who happens to be currently out of the country. Would have liked to have been here for the holiday season. So they have ordered the materials. There was a request from Commissioner Shetta regarding the noise.
Mr. Catrona, can you speak up?
Barriers along.
Mr. Catrona, could you raise your volume?
Yes. Is that better?
No, maybe you have to come a little bit closer to the microphone.
Let's see what we got here. Can you hear me now?
It's better.
Okay.
Commissioner Shibata, are you?
It is better. Are you working off a laptop?
No, this is my PC here, so I'm not really sure. I'll try to speak up as loudly as I possibly can. Would that work?
I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
you.
Thank you. So I started off by saying, you know, the comments that were made about making these improvements, I would have liked to have come to this board right now with updated photographs and information showing that some of these here improvements have been made. But I will say the station has been totally repainted. The parking lot has been, and the surfaces have been resealed and restriped. Right now, the owner is, the planting season really just opened up in respect to the fact that we're going to be planting abrevieties on both the eastern and southern property lines of this particular property. They are moving forward. I know upon his return, they had ordered the noise control barriers for the two portions of the site that we spoke about, which was the southern property line in front of the windows for the residents, the adjacent residents, and also across the back, the western side of the 3 parking spaces there. I know these materials are in place, and I know that they're moving forward with that.
Yes.
So really, if you look at our plans that were addressing the comments that were made, you will see that we're relocating the trash enclosures to the southern side. Those parking spaces are attended, so it'll be the best utilization of this site, the safest position. That will be fully enclosed with a top. If you look at our details on sheet, excuse me one second, 2.4, you will note that we have our details there, and as well as the noise control. We are removing, Vice Chair, you had a concern at the last hearing that the hose for the air pump, which was located on the northern tip of
I
this,
appreciate it.
you know, that is being removed. Okay, and so we were talking about denoting a portion of the site there where the cars would have to park, but the owner operator understood the concerns, and so we have volunteered to remove that. You know, the
Mr. Catrona, I just want to make sure you will still retain, I think per state regulation, you have to maintain an air tower, and that would be located on the side, but I noticed that that would be abutting the building.
It'll be at the building. Okay.
At the building, okay.
At the
I
building.
just want to be sure of the, okay.
Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
you know, the signage, I don't want to belabor the signage because I had a conversation offline with the Executive Director, Carla Costanza, just to ask some questions about the board's position, because when I look at this here, it is 2 separate entities that are operating it, which was our reason to pursue the section in the zoning resolution to view this here as a separate zoning lot when we have that condition. But I do understand the position and the culture of the board. I will voluntarily revise the signage calculations to speak to single use on the site, which I don't think will impact us here too terribly. Outside of that, the trash enclosure is in motion. The bollards are in motion. Totally respect the fact of the basic improvements. I think once the operator returns from abroad, that they will be implementing these changes, and potentially I can upgrade some photographs, and maybe, you know, at a next hearing, we can move towards closing this here project. You know, but overall, like I said, the whole station has been painted. You know, not to reiterate, but the parking lot and the striping and everything, it's in much, much nicer shape than it was when I first went to this here. And, you know, I will also let the operator and owner know that the board is expecting to see these here improvements made. And we'll illustrate that there. You know, hopefully we can get that done right away.
Yeah, I think we want to be reasonable. We recognize that there are issues with supply chain and other things. Whatever is easy, the low hanging fruits that can be done. And I appreciate the improvements that's been made. I wish some photos were submitted that would have just helped this hearing, and the record would have been clearer. I think the low hanging easy ones that can be done, please do that. That way we have the assurance that this would be carried forward, and then we can proceed. But I'm glad to hear you already have all the parts and everything in play, and those would be put. So any questions from any of the board members?
No,
Yes, please. I have a comment. It's not a question. The files for the drawings were named Shurka, and that takes the board member time to dig to get to the proposed drawings and the plans in general. Please, when submitting files with drawings or any other files, just name them in a way that's indicative to the content of that file, because the file name was kind of like weird. I don't know whether Shurka means like plans or so in other language, but it wasn't good. That previous submission was saying proposed plans, but this one was not. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. That's our client's name, but yes, we will make that correction on the next submission. Okay.
So
No.
should we go to, oh, sorry.
No,
Mr.
I mean, I hear all the comments. I think that we're really in a place where this is manageable. I think if we feed back these improvements, I think the board will look at this here more favorably. So I guess I'll speak with the client. I'm relying on their position to to complete these improvements, and I guess we'll resubmit and demonstrate that, and maybe move close to closing.
Okay.
So,
So let's first go to the public before we go to the next step.
Okay, the case we are currently discussing is 52358 BZ 11730, excuse me, Farmers Boulevard, Queens. Should you wish to call in, this is an extension of term 646-558-8656. Enter the webinar ID number 949-5312-3527 #. You will then be asked to enter a participant ID number, which you can ignore and just press #. Once you're in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. If you're already in the Zoom room and wish to speak on this matter, please raise your Zoom hand.
So, Mr. Catrona, how much time do you need to, what I would suggest, try to do as much of the improvement that you can, and the ones that you cannot, provide a timeline of what when it would get done. I don't want to hold, I don't want to hold you up. So I make the improvements that you've already, and give us that assurance and give us the timeline of the ones that are unfinished because of global chain issues. You haven't received the material. You estimate you would get it this, and by this time frame, you should have them done. So I want that in our file that gives the commitment, and a letter from the owner saying that we would complete the unfinished ones in this time frame, and that the site would be maintained. That assurance should be given to the board, and based on that, let me know how long you want for the next submission.
thank you. I'm
Sorry.
I'll yield to you.
Yeah, I just want to remind, and General Counsel can cue me on this. I believe there were 3 adjournments, so please be mindful of that, Mr. Catrona. I think you did ask for more time on this, so we will not give you another adjournment. So be clear about how much time you need, okay?
Tony, I think it was 2 adjournments, but we did receive notification. Our records show that there were only 2 adjournments on this.
Okay.
Or the July 22nd adjournment, I believe, was due to
Oh, is this, that one's ours? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
but a dismissal warning did go out on this application, I believe, because even though the July adjournment was at the board's request, the applicant has had since May 2021 to prosecute this application. So the board requests that the applicant continue to diligently prosecute this application.
Not a problem. I would think 6 weeks or so would probably be best at this particular point. I think the operator owner is returning probably in a week or so. And then they'll implement these changes, and then we have time to document and get back a proper package to the board.
Right. And this is a great time for planting, and I don't think there is a supply chain issue on those, especially on vegetable patch. So you should be able to see
No,
on that.
and in all due respect to the operator and owner, we've been speaking about this, and the planting season really just started. Okay, so
Right.
they're poised to move forward with that.
Great. And you will revise the drawings with regards to the signage, and put a note that all signage must comply with the underlying regulations, and DOB to review and approve.
Yes, I have that. From
Okay.
the executive session.
All right.
Thank you.
So 6 weeks, and then all looks good. We can then consider closing them.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Catrona. Good to see you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
So there were no one calling in?
Nobody called in, I think.
Okay.
I didn't see anybody call in. I don't have the control of the panel, so.
Are we clear, council?
Nobody has raised their hand in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you, council.
Thank you. all.
Item number, okay. Item number 24, 49072 BZ, 4200 Baychester Avenue, the Bronx. This would be Ms. Agnostu. Cindy
Cindy?
Agnostu.
Yeah.
If you're pulling it, raise your Zoom hand or checking as panelists so we can, there you go, Sandy. Thank you. Unmute, Sandy. Thank you.
Good
Do you
morning.
affirm- Good morning.
Sandy Agnostu, representing the applicant.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please proceed.
And I'm joined by the property owner, Mr. Yaha Al-Badani. He should be in the waiting room.
They're being promoted to panelists.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Does the property owner need to be sworn in?
None, is he speaking?
he may have a comment.
Okay, Mr. Badani, can you accept panelists, please?
Yes.
Okay, let me swear you in until you find the. Thank you. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board to respond to city board member questions?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Agnostu, please proceed.
So I listened to the board's comments during the review session, and I have to say, Mr. Badani did do a substantial amount of work cleaning up the site, and we thank the board's patience on this. I don't think he really knew the extent of what he was getting into when he purchased this property, but he is very much aware now that he has to comply with the conditions of the approval and will continue to maintain the site. He spent a substantial amount of money on that landscaping, so there's no reason why it shouldn't be looking that way year round and grow out and just be a beautiful addition to the neighborhood, especially on that frontage, which is residential on that side. I think the neighbors would really appreciate him keeping it looking beautiful that way.
I agree. And I want to thank Mr. Al-Badani for making these improvements. The site does look much better, and there's landscaping very well done. And thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll continue to maintain them. Your neighbors would love you for it. And I think everything that we have asked has been provided. So I really do not have any issues. If any of the board members have any questions, please do raise. But so I don't think anybody does. We all were very happy to see the improvements that you have made. And Ms. Agnostu, thank you for following up and staying on top of it. Appreciate it. So maybe this is a good time to go to the public and
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 49072 BZ, 4200 Baychester Avenue, the Bronx. This is an extension of time to obtain a C of O. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656, enter webinar ID number 949-5312-3527, pound. You will then press pound and ignore the request for the participant ID number. Once you are in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak. If you are already in the Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand. And this is only for 49072 BZ, 4200 Baychester Avenue.
So while we are waiting for any public to call in, I just have a question. Do you have any update on the DOB inspection of the site?
We're trying to schedule it, but we don't have one as of yet.
Okay.
But we'll immediately, once we do obtain the extension of time, pursue getting the C of O issued.
Okay. All right.
By the way, the paving was repaired on the parking lot, and that parking area is for employees only. It's locked, and there's signage on both gates. So the only thing that Mr. Al-Badani has not done was the demarcation of the parking spaces, and he had a considerable amount of expenses, so he would have to hire someone to do that. But, you know, on his behalf, I would just like to request if that's really necessary, he would do it. But since it is employee parking only, that was not a condition of the original approval. Is that something that the board?
So this is where this would be my suggestion. And I do not want to, and I would look to the other board members, I do not want to hold up our decision today based on this, not having this, the parking area not marked. However, I would suggest that you do it when you are able to. The reason is this, is that we do not want, the board does not consider this area to be an area of vehicles being stored. You may have employee parking, but you want to have just the amount of employee parking spaces that's been allocated. It should not end up becoming an employee parking and then you know, some kind of storage of some vehicle. This assures everybody who has eyes and ears on the site that the board approved this site to have 10 or however many 5 parking spaces, or I don't have the plan in front of me, the number of allocated parking spaces. So it's in the file, which says you have to have X number of on-site parking spaces. So if somebody is going by and they see more than that, at least they have an understanding that it is not by. I don't want everybody to have eyes and ears, but it is for you also to be very cognizant of what is the total number of parking spaces that can be allocated and how many employees therefore can park there, right? And it makes it easy for you to operate your site. It makes it easy for everybody to know what is possible. So eventually you should get it painted. I understand you have undergone a huge cost to improve this, but this is not a huge price, but it's something that you should take care of it as soon as possible for your own benefit as you operate this site, so that your tenant is also fully aware that they have to abide by this, because that's what's in the plan. It also helps you. So I would advise that. And any other comments from the board members on this? No, I think they don't have additional, so I'm assuming they're agreeing with what I'm suggesting. So so if that's okay with you, you know, I'm going to, it's in the drawing, so you need to just do that eventually.
Yeah.
So but I don't want to hold it up for that. You've made significant commitment to make this site better, and we're satisfied with that.
Okay, we understand, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay, all right. So with that, I make a motion to close, and it would be a grant of an extension of time for 1 year, which is what you have requested.
We're not voting.
No. Sorry, but I just want to close, and I want to explain what would be voting
Okay.
towards. That's what I want to be clear. Yeah.
Sorry, Madam Vice Chair.
I'm learning. I'm sorry. This is not something I do often. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, Tony.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to close?
Yeah.
Chair Perlmutter? Oh, sorry, Chair absent. Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Aye.
Okay,
So, and this has no submission due, so we would try to schedule it as early as possible. I leave it to our experts in scheduling, is at the earliest possible.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Badani.
Well,
okay, item number 26, 21406 BZ, 19625 Hillside Avenue, Queens.
Okay. I think this would be Elise.
Yep. And Andrew Stewart from High Point,
Okay,
and that's it.
okay.
Raise your hand so that we can see who. Good. Andrew, can you raise your hand so we can accept you in? It's 21406 BZ, 19625 Hillside. Is he in? No.
I don't see it.
Okay.
Can we do
You
without
need-
him, or
Yeah.
do you need him?
We can, but I wanted him to just discuss one of the items with you to make sure, because he was, you don't see him as an option?
It's not there.
Okay. I'll just email him. Okay, I'll do it without him. I just would prefer.
Okay, I mean, want to wait a second, or it's up to you, Madam Vice Chair.
He's in the
You
waiting
wanna
room.
proceed?
Oh, he is in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Okay.
There he is. Accept panelist, Andrew. There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right, raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Do.
Elise Fullader from Eric Polatnik, PC, with Andrew Stewart from High Point Engineering. He is the engineer. We thank you so much for your thoughtful comments. We will go through each of them. So first comment was about why is an amendment being asked? As the board correctly pointed out, we were asking to enlarge and do a convenience store, but we are no longer asking for that. But we kept the DOB objection just in case, because we are adding, or we have already adding, and we're legalizing handicapped accessibility and ramp. So we just kept it.
Okay. Okay.
Because it, yeah.
Can you just, for the simplicity of it, can you just add something in the statement?
Yeah.
That clearly states what this action is, and if the amendment includes your handicap, does that fall under amendment?
So we, under 1810 Utopia, which we recently had to do, in order to file that, we were asked to file an amendment with it. So I'm not sure. So that's why we kept it, because just in case, because we've been asked before to file an amendment for handicap.
Oh, that's odd. Okay, so if you can then just
Don't know. Yeah.
So just then, for our purposes and for the resolution, is to make it very clear what are the amendments that are being requested.
Okay, and that is the only amendment, or any other small items you guys ask for, but that usually doesn't fall under an amendment.
Okay.
If you ask to move things.
Okay.
And then we will show where the existing car wash is being relocated. We will ensure that water runoff is addressed and captured and indicate the drainage on the site. We'll get pictures and make sure that the tires are relocated inside. We will add to the plans to make sure the ramp, or you asked for the indication of the width of the ramp and the access way. And you asked for a note, we can put about underlying C1 that it complies with the zoning and DOB to approve.
Review and approve, yeah.
Oh, what did you guys say? Sorry.
Review and approve.
Review and approve, yeah. Okay. Is there specific language you want us to specifically say, or?
I am not someone who is extremely well versed with how DOB functions, to be honest. So I do not know if DOB just looks at the plan and someone says, hey, this meets the approval, and DOB signs it. That's not going to help anybody. I just want to make sure DOB has had the chance to review it, and based on their review, they have signed off. But again, open to the discussion in terms of how, I don't want to make it a laborious process, but I'm assuming it's part of a standard process when you're seeking a CO where DOB looks at the plans.
Okay, and so that's not a problem. We'll put the note so it'll indicate to them to just review it. And then Chase had a comment about the convenience store and an employee. There is a small sales area that's indicated on the plan. It's like 298 square feet or something about that size, and that's where the one employee works.
Okay.
And then last, I wanted Andy here to discuss landscaping so we can all come to an agreement about where it should be. Andy, take it away.
Yeah, so we showed the proposed landscaping along that southwest lot line, which I guess is the side lot line. Looking at the plan, kind of consistent with the original submission when we were proposing the expansion of the convenience store. So we kind of follow that same tact here now, that even if we're not proposing that expansion, but we do acknowledge your note about the trees at the I guess the back corner between that retaining wall and the building, and we agree that it would be tough to maintain those. So that area will show is to remain left open as it is, but clean, gated as necessary to preclude access. That's fine. And then we'll still propose those arborvitaes in the landscape area in the front along the side lot line there. I don't believe it would be a planter. It would probably be they tear up the concrete, just put in a new curved area to match the same area that's there, so they can install the trees directly in the ground.
Okay, great. Then in that case, please provide a detail of the landscaping detail and with the curb and all of that. Is that included?
It may be on the landscape plan. I'm checking right now.
It's not.
No, there's no curb detail, but we'll add that in. We've done it before. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you know that, Mr. Stewart. So to please provide that. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. If you're going to plan behind any of the existing retaining walls, just make sure that the proper drainage is provided. You don't want to accumulate water pressure right behind the wall. So I just wanted to mention that.
All right.
Thank you.
And I actually have another question. Would you, since we're kind of in agreement, I think, about what to plant there, unless I misunderstand, would you rather see the plants first, or since it's planting season, would you prefer us to just go ahead with it?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
Please do. I'll be very happy to see that. Yeah, please do. But I'm relying on the fact that Mr. Stewart, who has been before us, knows exactly what we look for in the drawings, which is, with the wheel stop and, the curb and other things. So I, Ms. Polidor, you have seen these plans. I'm assuming you know what you're doing, but please do it correctly so that we don't have to ask you to change it.
No problem. I just, sometimes you guys want to see the plants first, but this way we can move things along faster.
Yeah, I think in this case, we know the area, it's contained, and it's a 5 foot, I'm assuming based on I saw somewhere the dimension being 5 foot. I could be wrong. Yeah, it's 5 foot 9 inches between the building and the sites, and I'm assuming that's the same depth width that you're maintaining for the portion that's closer to hillside. Because I'm just taking the straight line down.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Visually.
But we can add that dimension too.
Yeah, please do add that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would say in the interest of the weather and the planting season, please go ahead, do so. And I'm saying this, I don't want others to take advantage of it. I'm saying this because I know you have done it. Your Mr. Stewart is very well familiar with what the requirement of the board is. So please proceed according to what our standard is. And deliver it and then deliver the drawings with the photos.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Andy, are you clear or do you have any questions?
No,
Okay,
good.
okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, you're all okay with that?
Yes, Vice Chair, on the signage things, I believe two ideas should be conveyed in that note. I don't care which language is used, but idea one is we're not waiving any signage regulations. Number two is going to be reviewed and approved by the DOB. So these two ideas should be in the note. Thank you.
Good point. Good point. Okay.
Maybe if it would be helpful, the project manager can email the applicant the language that you specifically want on the plans, commissioners?
Yes.
That would be helpful for us.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, this way there's not a back and forth. So
Yes, I agree.
Vice Chair will give you the language, or Commissioner Shedder will give you the language, and you can email that to Ms. Fullader.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
In the
So let's go to the public.
So the case we are currently discussing is an extension of term. This is 21406BZ 19625 Hillside Avenue, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, please dial 646-558-8656. Enter webinar ID number 949-5312-3527, press pound. You were then asked to enter the participant ID number, which you can ignore and just press pound. Once you are in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to speak. If you're already in the Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand. Thank you.
Another thing I would recommend while we're waiting for the public to chime in is the handicap accessway. Just paint it yellow so that it's very clear to everybody that it has to remain free and clear of all of any obstructions. You have to maintain a 4 foot of clearance, so just please make sure. You know, sometimes all the sales items and things kind of start peeking out. So make sure that you can put a note also to that effect.
Okay.
Okay. So while we are waiting for the public, how much time do you need? The season is now.
Yeah,
so
I guess my question is it possible to, if you feel comfortable, to close and then we provide all these things in a few months after we plant and you can see it? Or
since you offered to put the planting, I would prefer to see the planting because we are letting you do it without seeing the drawings.
Okay.
So on this one, just give us this, you just do the planting and then we will close.
Okay, no problem.
And
Angie, what do you
because
think?
you also have revised drawings with all the notes.
Yeah.
So let's
Understood.
just do it. And
Understood. I got it. 2 or 3 months probably for planning and pictures and everything.
Okay.
Right? Do you agree, Andy? Am I off here?
Yeah, I mean, they have to make sure they get the plant materials and arrange everything with the contractors, go in and plant everything, so.
Yeah, so maybe.
It's more, yeah, it's on our end, it's, you know, it's not as much, it's more on the actual physical work at the site, so.
So yeah, maybe like 3 months, just to, because it goes through a long process to get there usually, because they have to get it approved and then installed.
So just to be on the safe side, should we make it then just 4 months? It'll give you, would that give you plenty of time? And no,
I'm nervous because I know they want to move it along, but I also know they need the
3
time.
months.
So I'm like, yeah,
3 months.
I think 3 months is what we would aim for.
Right. Okay, 3 months it is.
Okay,
I think, you know, I appreciate everything that you have done and the site is in very, very good condition. So I'm sure you'll do a good job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No public called in?
Yep, I don't think anybody called
I
in.
didn't see anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Item number 27, 2017-67 BZ, 2714 Avenue R, Brooklyn. Ms. Manatov, I don't know who's representing or if he's, so,
Mr. Nadatov is in the waiting room.
he's
Who?
in the waiting room. He's in the waiting room. Manatov, Steve?
Yes, Admiral.
Okay. Mr. Manatov, can you accept panelists, please? Mr. Miss.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony for this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Okay, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Stefania Madatov. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, employees of BSA. I listened to the review. I'm very pleased that there's no issues that have been found in my application. If anything else is required, I'm listening. I'm willing to provide any other information.
I think we're good. And I don't think any of us had any comments. So let's go to the public and see if public has any, anybody wants to call in. And just give us a little bit of more time,
No problem.
the Madatov, for us to go through this process. And
Thank you.
Okay, the case we're currently discussing is 2017-67 BZ, 2714 Avenue R, Brooklyn. If you wish to discuss, this is an extension of time to complete construction. Dial in 646-558-8656, enter webinar ID number 949-5312-3527, press pound. You will then be instructed to enter the participant ID number, which you may ignore, and press pound. You will then be entered into the Zoom room. Press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to speak. If you're already in the Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand.
so we just have to give few minutes for, and then if we don't hear anything, I think we are in a very comfortable position to want to close it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So,
no one is dialed in. We only have Mr. Dale in the waiting room for the next few cases, and Kenny Lee, which is the applicant of the application that was postponed for failure to provide proper notice.
okay, all right. So we should then, we can take this down, right? The public hearing thing? Okay. So given that we have no issues, no one has called in, I would recommend that we close this application.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye?
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheva,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
No submission is required on this, and so we will schedule it at the earliest possible time. Someone will get back to you as to when we schedule it.
Okay, thank you so
I
much.
don't think, you don't need to attend it, but we'll just notify you.
I will attend it. It's a good experience.
Okay, all right.
Uh,
Thank you so much. Appreciate all your help. You
Sorry.
guys are
All right, it's not called, just if I do a correction. So if it's closed for, it's on for decision, we will call it at review session. So there is no public attendance on that. So you can listen for you, watch it on YouTube to see the board vote, but you then don't have to do a public hearing. So,
okay, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
You too. Appeals
Thank you.
calendar, may I go on, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair? Okay.
Yes, please.
Appeals calendar, new cases, item number 28, 2020, 82, and 83A, 5153 Cortlandt Street, Staten Island. Todd's in the waiting room. Okay,
Hi, good afternoon, or it's still morning. Good morning,
it's still
everybody.
morning. Please state your name for the record and you may proceed. This is an appeals case, so you don't need to be sworn in.
Sure, my name is Todd Dale. I'm appearing for the property owner, appearing as applicant for this application. I did listen to the review session and heard the questions that were raised. Just briefly in response, with respect to DEP, we are working on addressing the most recent comments from DEP. Just so the board is aware, they were primarily regarding distances between existing sewers and mains that are located in Cortlandt Street and in Mitchell Lane, which is a private road to the south. We're not proposing to build in either of these areas. So it shouldn't be an issue with respect to those sewers and mains, but we'll get those distances and get that submitted to DEP for review, and hopefully they'll issue a letter of no objection after we do that. We have not heard from Department of Transportation. I do understand the board wanting to receive feedback. We're willing to wait a little bit longer on that, but I would note that this application was filed, I think, in October of 2020. So DOT has had some time to get back to us with comments. So hopefully it won't be that much longer. And with the fire department, I don't believe we received comments yet, but if there are any forthcoming, we'll gladly respond to that. And I believe the last item that came up is Commissioner Shabeta asked for a little clarification as to why the community board recommended disapproval of this particular application. It's been a little bit of time since I was there, but per my notes, their primary issue with this is that they questioned whether this was really what the status of this street was, because as was noted during discussion during review session, it was opened and paved. I mean, there's no sidewalks, but it was a paved area that was used for access at some time up until approximately 2019. I think that's when those Google Street photos are. Since that time, it's been fenced off as private property. We don't have any history as to why that stop sign was installed. The property owner has no recollection of putting it in himself or themselves. We're not sure how or why it got there, but it is, as noted, this is, private property that happens to be mapped. We suspect maybe DOT installed it at some point, but we're not sure what the history of that is. But in short, the community board's primary question was, unlike other GCL 35s that come to them, this is a situation where there was a paved portion of the private lot at some point, so they just weren't sure about the status, and that's why they recommended disapproval. I believe those were the primary questions. I'm happy to answer anything else.
And I think we have a letter from Borough President's office regarding the street, right? We have something from the Borough President's Topo Bureau regarding the Kramer Place.
Yes, we obtained the street status letters for that area. So
yeah. So
I just wanted to try and answer as best I could to provide more clarity to the community board position.
Okay. So I don't think, do any of the commissioners have any comments? Okay. Let's go to the, Mr. Commissioner Shetta.
Hey, Mr. Dale, did you recently get in touch with DOT? Have you had any recent communications with them?
No, I mean, we normally with these applications, we'll file them and then the board sends it directly. They'll reference the application out directly to DOT. We haven't heard anything from DOT since this. We haven't done anything independently outside of filing the application.
Thank you.
I think our office should reach out. There seems to be a bunch of them. So our office should reach out to find a status. And this was filed in October 2020. So it's a long time to be waiting for a DOT response. So let's go to the public, and then we would hear from Chief Daly from Fire Department.
The case we are currently discussing is 2020 82 N83A 5153 Cortlandt Street, Staten Island. This is a request for a waiver under General City Law Section 35. Should you wish to discuss, dial in 646-558-8656 and to webinar ID number 949-5312-3527 #. You will then pass it into the participant ID number, which you can ignore and just press #. Once you're in the Zoom room, press *9 to raise your hand *6 to unmute to be able to speak. If you're already in the Zoom room, please raise your Zoom hand. And this is for 2020-82A, 2020-83A, Cortlandt Street, Staten Island, and that is the only case you should be calling on right now.
Okay. So should we start with Chief Daly?
Yes.
Staten, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Right now, I have to contact the Bureau of Operations City Planning Unit to find out the status of their plan review on this application. Once I do, I'll inform Todd and the project manager, who can then convey it to the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Dale, I think one of the things we said was that the board takes no position with regards to the underlying zoning regulations and the flood regulations. So that would be in the resolution. And do we put such a note in the plan also, Tony? We do. We should. Okay. So could you please add that note to the plans?
What note would you like? Or Tony, do you have an example that you can send to me?
Yeah, we will send you an example.
Great. If you send
I
that
think we
example,
do have
we'll
one,
get
right,
that.
Jella? We should have some kind of note on that. We'll do that.
So add note to the plans regarding flood or?
Flood and
Compliance with the flood regulations.
We have a note. It's on our website, and we have this BSA instructions for plans, I believe, and
Yeah, I think you're right.
it's
Thank you.
on there. It's I'll send you the link.
So right now, our plans have a note that says proposed development shall comply with all New York City zoning and building laws as approved by DOB. It also says building to be sprinklered in conformity with New York City Fire Code. We have those two notes on it.
Okay.
There's also a curb note about it aligning with existing curbs.
Okay.
It's a note related to the flood zone.
Flood zone. I think
hold
just
on
the
one moment.
thing.
I believe you should keep it like that. Just add after all regulations, just say including underlying zoning and flood regulations, something like that.
It
It
says
doesn't
So,
mean to be like
it says
let Ms. Prenda say.
the note on our guidelines says flood regulations, including Article 6, Chapter 4 of the zoning resolution and Appendix G of the New York City Building Code as applicable shall be complied with as reviewed and approved by the Department of Buildings.
We'll add that note and we'll submit the site plan. I
Okay.
have no issues with that. So
Thank you.
So we'll add that note. And then we're also, as I said, we are going to update the survey with respect to those outstanding DEP dimensions. And I believe that, those are the only two things currently that we need to submit, with the understanding that the fire department will be responding. We don't anticipate any issues, but if there are questions, we'll respond to those.
Chief Daly, do you have a time frame also so that?
Unfortunately, I do not have a time frame. We
Okay.
have a new program called the Shella, and it's kind of difficult to give a time frame on that. Sorry, but I'll try to expedite it as quickly as I can.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so unfortunately, we can't close until we have the sign off. So should we say a month, two weeks?
So there can be no closure when the agency responses are outstanding?
It's kind of like if there are issues that FDNY raises, then we'll have to open it and make corrections to the plans.
Same thing with, you're waiting for DEP, you're waiting for DOT.
I do not
The project
expect-
manager will try and move it along also, but we do know that there are delays.
I understand, and I would want to work with the board's, administrative issues, but from our purposes, because of, we're engaged with remote hearings, there's no opportunity for a close and vote any longer. So the only
Right.
reason I'm asking is that if it were closed and set forward at a reasonable, estimated time, that would allow for, with the record kept open, that would allow for a decision on that future date, assuming there aren't any issues with the other agencies. I understand if the board wants to keep the record open, but I'm just trying to present our hope. Without the close and vote option, it just adds a second. It basically is 2 hearings from now as opposed to 1 hearing from now. And there's only 1 board hearing in June and only 1 board hearing in July. So it forces us much further down the road than might occur over the winter. So that's the concern that we're raising.
Let me ask our general counsel, because they would have to write the resolution, because if we close now and then there will be a vote, the resolution has to be ready immediately. And
we can't close the record with open agency reviews.
we can,
No.
Non-secret, it's
We
non-secret
cannot.
review.
but it's a non-secret, right? So we still can't.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joel. Oh, okay. Yeah. With the understanding that the board would have to reopen the record, should anything arise, and if there are any additions or corrections that would be made to plan, then the board could close.
Okay. Mr. Dale, I understand your concern, and I would say from the board's point of view, we'll do our best to coordinate with you and with the other city agencies to get the sign-offs as quickly as possible.
I totally, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
So what we need is a certain amount of time. I want to be,
No, I understand.
There is an old process in play right now, and I am kind of at this point just going to.
I understood. I was just asking. Our only request then would be as far as this being rescheduled, if we could be on the sooner end of options with the hope that we do get these responses, and the fact that DOT has had a year and a half to respond, because then if we had the next hearing scheduled a little sooner, that then would allow for it to be closed and set for a decision more quickly. The main concern we're raising is just the limited June and July hearings.
Fair enough. And I think I'm less concerned about the DOT, though important in this case. I think given that they have been here, they have been given ample time, we need to do a call and find out where they stand, and email correspondent or something to that can confirm it. And DEP, you're already on top of it, so I don't think that will be an issue. It's really fire department that we need the sign off on this. And so I, therefore, since it's difficult for us to gauge what fire department would say, I understand the timeline. So we have, if we give fire department what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
I think that would be sufficient time.
Great.
So 2 weeks, that gives us one possible hearing date in June, and if not, maybe even May and June, right? So
Understood.
we have a tight timeline, but if everybody stays on time, maybe that can be delivered. So let's try to keep that timeline in mind and see if that can be delivered.
Understood and appreciated. And just so you're aware, with scheduling, we'll be able to have our DEP submission and that note added to the plans within the week. So,
okay.
So that gives you at least the applicant's time frame when you gauge the next hearing date.
Okay. All right. So target would be May hearing. Okay. Fair enough.
Great.
Mr. Dale?
That's perfect. Great. Thank you. So we'll get the DEP and the note, and then we'll just wait on the fire department and DOT. Thank you.
All right. So I think the second May hearing is more likely. So let's just kind of work towards that.
Great.
And just be reminded, I'm sorry, Madam Vice Chair, just reminded, once Mr. Dale submits the DEP, we also have to get the DEP sign off too. So there are 3.
Right. So DEP is on your court, Mr. Dale. You need to act on it, get it done as quickly as possible.
Understood. Understood. That's on us.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you, Chief Daly and Mr. Dale. I think we haven't heard anything, so we can move on to the next
No,
case.
nobody has called in.
Okay. Item number 29, 2021 10A, 3869 Victory Boulevard, Staten Island. Mr. Dale?
Hi, good morning. Todd Dale again for the applicant. We did attend review session, and I will seek to respond to issues that were raised. I think there was a question about the community board and whether they had issued a response. We appeared before the community board for this matter in March 2021. That was Staten Island Community Board 2. As I recall, we have it on our notes that there was no objection to the application, but we have not received a report. I know sometimes Community Board 2 sends it directly to the board, but as far as the time frame, that's when we appeared. We can call the community board and ask, but maybe if the board reaches out to them too to see if they have an official recommendation that was issued.
All right. So I think this is Vinroy.
Yeah.
Vinroy, could you please reach out to the community board?
Great. And it was March 2021, just so you know, that's when we appeared. Next, Vice Chair, you brought up a question regarding the lots. To clarify.
Let me open. I was looking at the survey that was provided and the tax map, and that's where the confusion arose.
Right. And I think the confusion may be that the survey that was submitted as part of the record is actually a bit of an older survey, I think 2017. But just to clarify, it is the current tax and zoning lot is per the current tax map, which is 250 by 150. In January 2020, there was a tax lot merger of former lot 22 and former lot 16 into current lot 16. So if you actually, we didn't submit the older tax map, but if you look at the tax map history, you'll see it used to be 16 to 22, which is what's reflected on the survey. I will, for consistency's sake, reach out to the owner and architect to see if there is a new updated survey we can submit, just to avoid any confusion.
Thank you.
And right now the lot is, per the records, at least when I saw it, I think all the homes or buildings there have been demolished. So it's a vacant lot, but we'll seek to get a new survey. You noted that DEC noted that this was a no jurisdiction site. We have not received comments from Department of Transportation. I don't know if they're going to be issuing comments or, this is a very odd section of Victory Boulevard that happens to be unmapped, even though Victory Boulevard, I say, was a very present thoroughfare in Staten Island. But if DOT weighs in, we're happy to respond to any questions that come up. I don't recall seeing any fire department comments for this. I don't know if they were issued. Okay. Again, we're happy to respond to anything that comes up the fire department might raise as far as questions. And then, sorry, go ahead.
And the DEP comments, you're on top of that?
DEP comments, the most recent comments were issued, I believe, hang on a second. Let me double check.
I have it on my note as February 2021.
Right. The DEP comments, we are on top of it. That's going to take a little bit longer because I believe in this case, they asked for an SCP. We drafted the SCP plan that was actually submitted to the record, but I don't know if it's actually been, I don't know what the current status of the actual SCP filing is, but I will reach out to the architect to see if I can get some information on that. Let me make a note of that. DEP at times is satisfied if it's filed, even if it's not approved. So we'll confirm in addition with any of the measurements that we have. Speed status, something like that.
Part of this Victory Boulevard, are you proposing any improvements to the sidewalk or something?
We did submit a builder's pavement plan that should be part of the record. It was submitted with the response to comments. We did it in January 2022, so it would be part of that submission. I don't know how it's dated in your files or SharePoint. Now, with respect to the BPP, I don't know if the board has encountered this, but we've heard from architects recently that we can't get the BPP actually approved until a GCL waiver is finalized by the board. So we did prepare the draft plan just to show the board what it would happen, but we can't actually get an approved BPP, per the architect and engineer until the GCL matter is resolved. But that BPP, you'll see it corresponds to the plan where there is one curb cut, which would be to, I believe it's the west of the site, sort of northwest of the site, and then there are the street trees that are listed there and everything that's there. But this area of Victory Boulevard does have a sidewalk already on it. It's not in great shape, so it will be improved in conjunction with the proposed development, the existing sidewalk.
Thank you for, because that's what was not clear to me as to what are the improvements that are being proposed. So the sidewalk will be improved and the street trees would be planted.
Correct. Yeah, and we're that plan, as I said, the BPP was submitted. Yeah. Okay. And then the only the remaining question that was raised, and we can speak to this in multiple ways with respect to the seeker. We would note we did not submit it for this application, but it's been submitted for other applications. The board recently had its hearing to amend the rules, but this application was filed at the time it was filed. The actual rules of record for the board only require seeker filings for special permits and variances. The administrative notice that was enacted, when was it, February 2020, I believe it was, or was the time. That administrative notice was actually enacted improperly and contrary to both the board's rules and the city charter, the City Administrative Procedure Act, Section 1043, and correspondingly, it should be without effect. And any application that was filed prior to the board's recently enacted rules, I believe yesterday, would be exempt from seeker, any appeal that was filed, because the board rules do not require it. The board's rules, as I said only special permits and variances, and that the administrative notice was proposing a change in the rules, and a change in the rules cannot be effectuated unless proper city charter procedures were filed. So we would state that this application, and actually all appeal applications that were filed up until this month, would still be subject to the prior rules, and therefore no seeker would be required.
I see Commissioner Shibetta's hand.
Thank you, Council. And thank you, Vice Chair. I understand your arguments. That isn't the position that the board has taken, from what I understand. And also the seeker requirement is a law. So whether or not we have rules in place, it doesn't relieve the obligation of the applicant community as well as to follow the law. So while there may have been, I'm not going to opine on what the communication between the board and the applicant community is, but asking for a waiver of a law is not something in our purview.
I'd just like to state that the board's review on this record is under the jurisdiction of GCL 36, and whether the applicant meets the findings of GCL 36. Seeker applies to this application pursuant to the administrative notice, and as the commissioner just stated, pursuant to applicable law, and the board cannot close until seeker has been filed and closed.
We will make a submission to that effect, but the fact is the administrative notice was, it's basically illegal because it is proposing to change a board posted rule without proper procedure under city charter. And I think the board recognized that because the board recently engaged in proper procedure under city charter to change the rule. So I think the board's own recognition of this fact and engaging in the rulemaking hearing process shows that they know that the administrative notice was improperly effectuated.
Council, is your argument, just a moment, is the argument
One at a time.
One at a time, please.
I'd just like to state that seeker's applicability is not the scope of the board's record on this application. Your comments have been taken into consideration and have been reflected in the record. The board's review of this record is for a waiver of GCL 36. The board is not engaging in a review of seeker's applicability on this record. Thank you.
I'd only like to add that even if we were to take your argument at face value, your argument could be surmised as, oh, well, that was illegal, so we should be allowed to do something illegal. There's a law. You have to follow it.
And I would respond to you that for approximately 3 decades, no seeker was required for appeal applications, which I think everyone attending this hearing would agree. So are we saying then that the board approved all prior GCL 36 applications for the past 30 years improperly and contrary to state law?
We're only reviewing this application on this record, and we're not having a larger discussion about the applicability of seeker. That could be for a court to decide.
That's fair, and I appreciate that. But if the board is requiring a seeker filing on this particular application, we believe that it's pertinent to this effect if the board is requiring something that is not required pursuant to its own rules and pursuant to, I'd say, both city and state law, that I think that it's pertinent for the discussion. So I understand we're happy to supplement our next submission, on the record, so that we don't, go over the whole hearing here and to delay proceedings today. But, that is the position we would take. And we think that the 3 decades plus history of the board and the city charter, I think, are pertinent to this discussion.
Mr.
To appeal
Dale,
it.
Mr. Dale, you can choose to take whatever decision, but what is before us is GCL 36, and should we have to review the SECRA case processing as part of this. And should you fail to do that, we may have to dismiss the application. And it is up to you to make that decision on behalf of your client.
I've let the client know about that. I appreciate, what you're saying there, and I don't disagree with that. We will let them know about the options that are available here with respect to, the seeker in the application. And, as I just said, our point is that the seeker shouldn't be part of this application based on the board's rules that were in place at the time of filing.
Your position's been taken and reflected. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
all right. We don't have anybody from the public. So how much time would you need, Mr. Dale, to submit all?
Fire department.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Chief Daly. I'm so sorry.
That's no problem, Madam Vice Chair. Mr. Dale, could you ask the architect or engineer in the project if he could provide a note on the plan that the building proposes to install a fire alarm, sprinkler, and standpipe system? I just reviewed their application on the DOB biz under the new building application. Those are the 3 fire protection and suppression system that they're proposing to install. Hopefully that's correct. If they could put that note on the plan.
Oh, what are the things? A fire alarm and sprinkler.
The fire alarm, sprinkler, and standpipe. Those 3 protections are being proposed. If they could put that on the plan. Then,
okay, there is a note on the plan saying building to be sprinkler pursuant to fire code requirements, but we can add fire alarm and standpipe to that note.
Okay, I didn't see that note, but yeah, if they could add the fire alarm and standpipe, and then I can submit this plan to operations to get their letter.
100%, we will do so.
And Mr. Dale, I don't see it on the plan, but if it is there, ignore the comment, but just add a note that all BSA is not making any decision regarding zoning, fire code, flood regulations and others. It's similar to the previous one.
So add the flood note similar to the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hang on just a second. Let me do that. Let me make a note of that. Okay. So my list that I see is we'll add the BSA flood note to the plan. We'll add the fire alarm and standpipe note per Commissioner Daly. We will get confirmation on what the DEP status is and respond to DEP so they can issue their no objection letter. We will reach out to the community board independently, but perhaps the board gets a better response than we will. And we'll see if there is a new survey update. And then we will speak to the owner and give them the option of filing seeker or pursuing the argument that was previously discussed.
Yeah, and do please discuss with our general counsel and executive director before you make a final decision on that secret part of it.
That's fine. And just to clarify, we also did submit the waiver request as a supplemental to that was actually in response to discussion. We would argue that the board does have the ability to waive its rules. I did hear what Mr. Vine said earlier, and we'll take that under advisement as far as whether a waiver is allowed or not.
Okay. And
General Counsel Vine, not Mr. Vine, General Counsel.
General Counsel Vine, I apologize.
Thank you.
And yes, and Mr. Dale, please do feel free to reach out to discuss further on the seeker question.
Sure, happy to do that.
And you also have a note regarding the we are not waiving any underlying zoning regulations.
Is that part of the flood note, or is that a different?
I think
we
the
have a note.
The board has a standard note that the applicants provide that say all rules and regulations. Isn't that correct, Todd?
There is a note on the plan right now that says proposed development shall comply with all NYC zoning and building laws as approved by DOB. So that note should be.
I couldn't find it. So as long as that's there, add the flood note to it.
Got it. That's there. So we'll add the flood note. So understood. We understand all of the application specific items and then the seeker item also. Thank you.
Okay. So how long will it take?
We'll be able to get most of the submission there. Unfortunately, I don't know how long. We'll be able to turn around our submission fairly quickly, with the understanding that DEP, may not get back to us in time, but I would say we could probably submit this within 2 weeks at least.
Okay. Mr.
If not faster.
Chief Daly, that's okay? Yeah, okay.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. Yes, 2 weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks to submit. Again, I don't have the schedule, and so I'm going to defer to Ms. Matthias and our executive director to schedule them based on other timelines. So,
as Mr. Dale notes, we do send an email to all applicants when we reschedule for their acceptance of submission dates and hearing dates. So we will submit that to them in the next coming weeks.
I will confirm.
Okay, so we have no members of the public. We did the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All
let's
right,
move.
I'm sorry, Madam Vice Chair.
No, let's move on to the next case. Thank you.
Okay. Item number 30, 2021 20A and 2021 21A, 106 108 Windham Avenue, Staten Island. This is a waiver of GCL 30, section 35.
Good afternoon, Todd Dale for the applicant again. I just want to make one quick note, just the board has it for the record. It's Windham and not Windham. So like as in victory.
Oh, the D is not there?
There is no D. So
it's WINHAM?
Yes, it's like a champion pig. There you go,
Oh, okay.
Windham.
Excuse me.
Just in case anyone's searching for it. So we did hear the comments that were there. Again, with respect to the fire department, if there are any comments, we'll respond. The DEP did issue comments on this. We did make a submission April 13th that responded to their questions regarding distance of utility lines to the lot. I think that that's been forwarded to DEP, so we're actually accelerated as far as a DEP review and response on this matter. I believe in response to Commissioner Shedda's comments that it sounds we're going to need to put that same flood zone note on this proposed plan, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to say add PSA flood note. And I don't believe we received comments yet from DOT either. So,
yeah.
So
did we get a letter from the Staten Island topo office on this? Not that it.
I don't know. Sometimes we obtain street status letters and sometimes we just provide the topo maps. Let me take a look at our record and see what may have been submitted for this one. We did, what was submitted is the PD1 forms, which are from DOB. So DOP will review. So it was actually with the original application. Department of Buildings reviewed this, and it's actually the topo office looks at it also. It's just called PD1 forms in our submission.
Okay.
But you can see that they assigned tentative house numbers, and then they can't finalize it until after the board issues its approval, but they confirmed the status through the PD1.
Okay. So let's then go to the public, and then Chief Daly can weigh in on.
Vice Chair?
Yeah, oops, I'm sorry, yes.
That's okay, that's okay. I just don't want to delay the application. I haven't, the latest correspondence I've seen to DOT, or from DOT actually, was the asking for the status on the BIB. And then there is a feedback from BIB, like I shared it during the executive session. Did we send that feedback from Build It Back to DOT, or it was not sent?
Eileen?
Yeah, we sent it, and it was delaying DOT's review, but now they're going to review it.
Perfect, thank you so much.
All right, so let's go to the public.
The case we are currently discussing is 2021-20A, 2021-21A, 106-108 Wyndham Avenue, Staten Island. This is a waiver of the General City Law, Section 35. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-558-8656, and to webinar ID number 949-5312-3527. Press pound. You will then be instructed into participant ID number, which you can ignore and just press pound. Once you're in the Zoom rooms, to press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand. And once again, it is only for 2021-20A and 21A Wyndham Avenue, Staten Island.
Okay. So while other public members call in, maybe we can start with Chief Daly.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I will have to get with the Operations City Planning Unit to find out the status of their plan review and can expedite this application as well. So as soon as I get the letter, I will inform the project manager and Mr. Dale.
Okay, thank you. How long do you think it will take? Again,
2 weeks.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Dale, how long will it take for you to put all the package together?
2 hours. Since I think the only thing that we need to do at this point is add the flood note, because we've already submitted a response to EB and we don't have, hopefully there's nothing to respond to either the fire department or DOT, but there's no action required until we receive comment from them. So, very quickly we can get that plan note added, the flood note plan added.
You also have to add the fire department note.
Well, we don't know what fire department note will be required, if any.
I think, Chief Daly, didn't you just say you wanted those 3 notes on there?
Wasn't that?
That was the previous Victory Boulevard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Reading
Yeah,
above my notes, sorry.
These are residential homes, so I don't expect fire alarms will be required.
Sorry about that, Todd. I was reading above my
No,
notes.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. So short answer, we'll be able to respond quickly and we will anticipate, a quick response to anything that's forthcoming from other agencies, though we don't expect anything significant.
Okay, so we'll try to put this on the same 2-week schedule.
Great.
Okay. All right, we haven't heard anything back from anybody? No public called in?
Do you want to, no, we need the other sister agencies, I was going to say.
Right, well, I think this one, I don't think DOT should have any issues, but we should just give a heads up since DOT seem to have not reviewed it at all. So if we can reach out to DOT collectively on all 3 of them, right? No, 4 of them. There's the Victory Boulevard also. And okay.
Okay.
All right.
All righty, so we're done?
Hearing none?
Okay.
I think we are done.
Okey doke. So we'll notify you of the next hearing date, Mr. Dale.
Understood. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, this concludes the public hearing for April 26, 2022.
Thank you all for bearing with me. Thank you. Bye.